Hey there, this is Colin Gibson. I think we're going to talk some more about shafts. So I'm not sure if I'm going to put this with the previous videos on shafts or if it's going to be a separate video, but we got to talk some more about shafts. And right now I just want to talk about what's the most important quality of a shaft. Because when you go to your club fitting, I think the only thing they're going to talk about is flex. So you know, what is the most important part about a shaft? Is it length? Is it weight? Is it flex? Is it torque? Is it cost? You know, there's a lot of different things you can think about with your golf shafts. But your club fitter is going to tell you it's flex. But that's just not true. I mean, that's just, scientifically, it's just not true. So really the most important two aspects of a shaft are weight and torque. Because remember last time we talked about what is the purpose of a shaft, and it's to deliver the club head predictably to the ball. And that's why I said last time having really flexible, high torque, shafts is not a good thing. And so really what I'm telling people and what is scientifically proven is that you really need to get into a shaft that maximizes the type of golfer that you want to be. So last video, I said that there's no place in golf for flexible shafts. That's true. There's no place in golf for a golfer that wants to get better to play a flexible shaft. So there are those golfers that play twice a year that don't care what their score is, and they really just want to pull a 7-iron and still be able to hit it 175 like their playing partners, and that's all they care about. Because they'll tell their playing partners that they only played once this year, they're going to shoot 110, but they want a club that's going to shoot the ball high in the air with very little spin, and they want their 7-iron to go as far as their 5-iron would normally go. Okay, that's who a flexible shaft is for. They don't care if it goes right or left. Doesn't matter. Okay, but what I'm talking about is getting into a shaft that's going to improve your scores. Okay, so you're a golfer that plays more than once a month and you want your scores to go down. You want to win the Nassau the next time you go out and play with your playing partner. So you want to get better. That's what I'm talking about. And that's what a shaft has to deliver for you. And that's why a high torque, high flex shaft is never going to deliver you any sort of score improvement. You have to have low torque, low flex shafts to be predictable. Okay, so the most important part of a shaft, I think, is torque and weight. And let's talk about why that is. Now, I still believe that you should try to have as high a swing speed as you can. Even sometimes with your irons and your wedges. So we want you to be able to deliver speed to the ball, because that's going to give you options on making lots of different types of shots and making the shot that's appropriate for the moment, the shot that you need. So you need speed. So I think the shafts, especially with the technology these days, should be lighter. If you can get a stiffer shaft that's lighter, then I think that's a good combo, as long as you the golfer, if that feels good to you. So a lot of golfers are just not used to that yet. They're not used to lighter, stiffer shafts because of the technology. Those have only come out in recent years. But torque is one thing that fitters almost never talk about, or at least they don't talk about to normal golfers. Torque is really important because lots of golfers, mid-handicap, even low-handicap golfers, don't hit it right off the center of the face every time. So if you're a little bit if you hit one toey or you hit one to the heel side and you have a high torque shaft, then your dispersion is going to be terrible. So I happen to think that torque is really, really important in golf shafts, and you should get a low torque golf shaft. Low torque, lower flex, okay, for all of your clubs except your driver. Now your driver can have a little bit of flex because you want to get a little extra distance, but it also should be low torque. And you can buy those these days really for not a lot of money. You can get a correct flex for your driver shaft, preferably a little stiffer so it's predictable, and get low torque, okay, and get lighter weight so that you can swing it as fast as possible. So torque and weight, okay, are extremely important. And I happen to think that cost should be a factor. And, you know, those are the things that you should look at, okay, because you want to deliver the club predictably. So let's talk about just distance. Like why do you want a good shaft? You know, and it's because you want to deliver the club predictably and get great shots. You want to strike the center of the club face every time. That's what separates good golfers from bad golfers is strike. Okay. So if you're striking the ball consistently, you're going to hit it farther. Okay. But if you're not striking it consistently, you're not going to hit it farther. And that's why when you go into the top 100 golf fitter and they fit you for a kind of a flexy shaft and they send you out of there telling you that you gained 20 yards, well, that's only on the good hits. The thing that predicts distance the most is strike. Okay, so you're actually going to average more distance over 10 driver shots by striking it consistently than by swinging a flexible shaft 3 miles an hour more. And that's the other thing. Let's talk about what do you get out of a really flexy shaft? Even a good golfer, even somebody who swings at over 100 miles an hour is only going to get five miles an hour swing speed and 5 to 10 yards out of a real flexible shaft. But that's only on the good hits. On the other 9 out of 10 hits that you miss it, you're not going to get as much difference as you would with a predictable, stiffer, low torque shaft. So think about really what you want in a shaft. So let's talk about driver shafts. What should every golfer, every single golfer that wants to improve their scores, look for in a shaft? Okay, so you want to trend towards these qualities. So in a driver shaft, you want to trend for as long of a shaft as you can handle. Okay, now everybody has a point to where their athletic ability and hand-eye coordination cannot handle any more length. Okay, for some people that's 43 inches. For some people that's 47 inches. Okay, but you want to trend towards the longest driver shaft that you can handle because it's going to give you more club speed. Okay, the longer the shaft, as long as you have enough strength, you are going to swing that shaft faster. Okay, so length is one. Weight is another, and that's why I think weight is so important. With today's technology, you can get a stiff, predictable shaft that's light. Okay, so when you're in your club fitting, and I think everybody should be fitted for clubs, they just need to be fitted correctly. When you're in your club fitting, you need to try some lighter shafts and some heavier shafts. You're always going to swing the lighter shafts faster. Okay, so if you can get a lighter, longer, low torque, lower flex shaft, driver shaft, those are the things you should be looking for. That's what's going to make you hit fairways. Okay, what other properties should you look for? You really, at that point, once you've reached those goals, you really have to look at cost, because it is true there is a correlation between the price of the shaft and the quality and the consistency of that shaft. So I have no problem with expensive shafts as long as you're going after all those other good qualities. So, you know, if you can only afford a $100 aftermarket shaft, you can find good, light, long, low torque, low stiffness, or low flexibility $100 aftermarket shafts that are going to make you better and faster and longer and hit fairways. But those are fewer and far between than $400 and $500 shafts. Okay, so the more you're willing to spend, the more quality Japanese, you know, type high quality shaft that you can get. And if you can spend $400 on the shaft, then do it, because you're going to get a better shaft. But that's what you should be looking for. Trend towards longer, trend towards lighter, trend towards stiffer, trend towards lower torque, okay, and trend towards higher quality. And if you can do that, you're going to get a great driver shaft. Now let's think about shafts in the other parts of your bag. Let's talk about 3-wood, 5-wood hybrid shafts, okay? All of those clubs should be mapped to hit a certain distance at a certain trajectory, a certain spin, a certain landing angle. And you're going to be using those. Yes, sometimes you'll use your 3-wood off the tee. So if you're like a 3-wood off the tee guy, then you need a driver shaft in your 3-wood. Okay, but if you're a 3-wood off the fairway guy hitting into a par 5, then you don't just need all out distance. You need to know how far it's going to go, how much it's going to spin, how it's going to behave, and you need to hit it straight. So you need to hit stiffer shafts in your fairway woods than you're probably used to, or that you're going to get fit for at whatever top 100 fitter you go to. So you need stiffer shafts. Now, when you get to irons, you need stiff shafts. You have to have stiff shafts. Okay, you don't want to spray in your irons all over the yard. You want to hit your iron shots within 20 feet of the hole. So you have got to have predictability and stiffness there. And then your wedges, I've heard all these people saying, well, why can't I just use a flexible shaft in my wedges? That is just a no-no. And I know there's some club fitters doing it. It's just, that's ridiculous. You have to have predictable wedges. Okay, you don't want to hit your wedges far. You know, you should have a different swing for your wedges, for your irons, for your fairway woods, and for your driver. And that swing should get longer and more aggressive as you get to those higher, distance clubs. So your wedges, you should have a very predictable, smooth wedge swing that has a very specific tempo for the yardage that you're going to hit. You don't need flexible shafts for that. You do not want flexible shafts for that. Especially when you're hitting like a 30-yard chip shot. You don't want to accidentally get that wedge kicking into that, because remember, we talked about droop. What if you're hitting a 30-yard wedge shot and you have a flexible shaft? You're going to hit that thing fat more often than not. That's the worst. You do not want to duff a 30-yard chip shot. So you got to have stiff shafts in your wedges. That's a no-brainer. So, trend towards stiffer than you're used to, way lower torque than you're used to, longer than you're used to, lighter than you're used to, and you're going to be setting yourself up to lower your scores. And then all of your shafts, and we'll talk about this in a different video, all of your, graphite shafts need to be flowed. Okay, they need to have a predictable oscillation pattern, and all your iron shafts need to be spined. They have to be. So we'll talk about that next.